This may be too close to the rising of the red moon. I do not suggest that we go forward with this session.
The Foundation needs everything that connects to our cases, sir, and this entry is extremely vital information.
As long as we hurry with the session, we cannot waste time on such a limited schedule.
Again, the information provided is needed for our cases. The stories are told because the victims are frightened out of something they can't understand. Additionally, even though the red moon is fast approaching, I felt it necessary to include this session. I have all the correct incantations to perform, and I've practiced them for many nights now. I'm ready, sir.
I still don't like it, but...
If you don't like it, then you don't have to be a part of it. I'm sorry, sir, but I've done enough research and have had experiences of my own to lead this investigation, even if you don't approve.
Very well. If you truly believe that you can do it on your own, then proceed with this entry while I prepare for the actual danger ahead.
You've given me everything necessary for the upcoming trial. I'd appreciate it if you'd stay for the session, but are you really going to leave? I just said if you can. Well, I I didn't really expect that to happen once we're recording. He wasn't he didn't act like this before, but I suppose from what I've discovered about him, maybe my guesses were true. Maybe he's not the true Joseph Steele that I read about. Regardless of his actual identity, I do think it's necessary to begin this entry. I know the red moon is near, but I hope this may shine some light on a few dark secrets about the town of Potter's Hill. Seems like, well, I suppose anything could be watching us. I mean, well, me. It'll be strange to record an entry alone, but here it goes. This entry comes from another local here in Potter's Hill. Originally, it just started with a child of a new family who recently bought a house that needs a lot of renovation. But through some very eerie incidents, the entire family quietly came to us about the happenings. Starting from the beginning, the family, who chooses to remain anonymous on the reporting, purchased a house on the outskirts of the town, one that needed some fixing, as I mentioned, but also one that is close to the forest and ultimately close to the mountain. The family moved in, and the first few weeks went by quite well. Some rooms weren't finished, however, and the sleeping arrangements had to be shuffled around. One of these times, the youngest son had to switch his bed to a downstairs room, which was a half-finished basement, while his main bedroom was being fixed entirely. It was during this time that the son began to not only hear faint whisperings at night from beneath the bed or underneath the stairs, but also a smell that was awful. At first, the son didn't report it until the smell became almost unbearable to sleep through, let alone to be inside the room at all. But when the parents came down one night, the stench had lessened and the son was confused and scared. The parents thought it was some old food stashed away by the son, and he had forgotten about it. But when they checked the drawers and shelves, nothing was found. That night and the next, the son slept in the living room, but eventually the parents had him sleep back in the basement. However, the son could hardly sleep at all. More whispers returned as well as the rancid odor, but the son wouldn't have to tell his parents about it again. The father came down one night to check on extra tools he had left there, and immediately noticed the smell. He entered the son's room and traced the smell down to a tall wardrobe that had been left behind by the previous owner. An owner whom the family had never met, and thought it was really strange. Either way, the father located the wardrobe and found a loose board at the back. With a strong push, the wall of the opposite side was broken through, and what the father found made him retrace his steps, pushing his son further back. Inside the wardrobe, or at the back of it, was an entrance to an entire different room, cold and damp. It was walled off by bricks for the most part, but the entrance seemed like it had been broken open. By what or who, the father couldn't tell, and he didn't want to know. He made his son go back upstairs, and while he ran up, the mother bumped into him, where she leaned in and saw the horrible truth that their son wasn't making it up. Both of the parents began to hear the same whisperings the son did. Listening, they picked up certain words, most of them with negative feelings. Trapped. Dark. Blood. It was so much at once, but something seemed to draw them forward to reveal the secrets underneath. Finding some flashlights, the parents went back into the dark room. Before plunging back into the terrifying room, they noticed an odd symbol painted in white above the entrance. A double triangle with a line jutting vertically through both of them. The symbol of Balfamor. Careful. I can't be afraid, Nat. Not now. Just like the parents. I have to be brave. Because those horrific secrets of the house were terrible to read about. Anyway, inside the first room, it was mostly empty with some shelves on the walls. On the shelves, though, were disturbing items. Knives, spades, broken glass jars, and various gardening tools that were all stained with blood. On the opposite wall, there were two metal doors, both without a lock. It was strange, but the father approached the right one while the mother approached the left. As the father opened the door, he was overwhelmed by an awful and horrific stench, worse than that was before. Not just this, but an enormous wave of heat wafted through the room. The father lifted his arms in disgust and pain, and he gasped at what he saw and nearly threw up. In the room was a large furnace, burning bright and blowing hot, rancid air. In front of the furnace, though, was a pile of corpses. Most of them were pale and decomposing, like they had been stacked there for weeks, if not months. Flies and maggots covered the bodies, digging into them. The horrible stench of the decomposing bodies mixed with the fire, which the father had presumed to be the final stage of these bodies, made him slam the door shut and throw up in the colder room. The mother rushed over to him while he recounted the horrible scene. She looked over to the door with horror, but didn't open it. She didn't want to see what the worst of humanity could do. Instead, she helped her husband back to his feet and led him over to the left door. Peering inside, they could both see an extremely long stone tunnel that seemed to go on for miles ahead. However, plastered on the walls nearest to the door were papers upon papers of missing person reports. They couldn't count them all, but the parents guessed there to be at least 50 from what they could see. It didn't take them long to shut the door and retreat back through the cold entrance. Stumbling back through the wardrobe, they closed off the room permanently to protect their son and their family from ever experiencing something that awful. They weren't sure where to go to report this. They went to the police first, and they did up investigating the basement. But by the time the police had arrived, the smell had lessened again, and when the officers went through the broken wall and into the hidden chambers, they claimed there were no bodies there, and the shelves were completely empty. The horrible smell was definitely still there, but anything left over was not. The fires of the furnace were out, but the posters of the missing people remained on the walls past the left door. Later, the officers closed off the house for investigation, and the family ended up moving away a month after the investigation had started. That was when the house slowly began to be visited and investigated less each week. It was like the detectives either didn't find anything, or their focus shifted to something else. A very strange and sudden shift that left the investigation open since then. The house has been left abandoned since the last detective left the grounds. Now, the vanishings and recent disappearances began to lessen after this macabre incident, but the truth behind it all was entirely horrifying. The family came to us, loosely knowing what the Mystic Obscura Foundation does through some connections, and wanted to remain completely unknown from what they discovered. It definitely makes sense. Well, since then, the family is living somewhere else, renting for now, until they can move away from Potter's Hill entirely. I'm just so used to having Mr. Steele say something right after. Well, this story is definitely extremely dark and not what I expected to read through the first time. It was so jarring that I'm planning to visit this house actually on my own. Since Mr. Steele doesn't want to have actual investigation for all of these separate cases, I've tried to do my own work on the side to try to follow up on these. So, knowing that this witch cult symbol is the very same that the family had found, it's another huge lead to follow. We can't have any more roadblocks now. We have a set goal, and we have so many leads that we can't fumble this opportunity. But Among all this information, the most mysterious one is, I suppose, the truth behind Mr. Steele. I'm not sure if he's the real one, so to speak, or just another person pretending to be him. And it might be worse. Maybe he's some kind of skinwalker, if the folklore is real. There's so many discoveries I've made that just don't make sense, while other things that the Foundation has known but has covered up. Secrets. Perhaps even these spirits that keep watching me know all about it too. Well, I'm about to find out what's beyond the walls of that house. It's time to be the bravest that I can. I apologize if I haven't updated my journey tonight, but I was able to sneak into the same house in this entry and found the basement pretty easy. I didn't want to start recording in case of any of those cult members or maybe even some detectives see me or hear me. But I did find the furnace, which was off, and the shelves were empty. The missing people and posters, though, were still there. There's quite a collective of those posters, and there was a few further down past that. Since then, I've just been walking straight, just in this really dark tunnel. There's no doors or hidden openings. I'm taking my time so I don't miss anything, but this might take a while just to walk the length of the tunnel. Reporting back soon, I hope. I'll try to make this brief, but there's some startling new discoveries here. I'm outside in the forest, at the foot of the mountains. This tunnel apparently leads to the trails that go up to the entrance of the mountain. The triangular entrance is in front of me now, maybe 100 feet away. I don't want to approach it just yet. I didn't bring my cleansing items, but I know how to get here now. Additionally, there's many etchings of the same symbol of this witch cult carved into the stone ground at the start of the tunnel, or rather, the end of it now. As odd as that is, most of these carvings are filled with what I guess to be blood. 3 of these etchings are left empty, but I fear this cult only needs 3 more victims to fulfill some sort of dark ritual. It's just all so ominous. It might be too much for me to handle on my own. Someone's close by. I didn't see them before. I'll be watching who... Wait. Is that... No, it can't be. There's a couple of cultists wearing the white robes from previous entries, but they don't have the hoods up now, and one of them is Mr. Steele. But he appears wrong. His face isn't, well, it isn't the same, but he's digging into the earth now, looking for something that's deep in the ground, and it can't be. The heart of the forest. It's just like he said. A pulsing, beating heart dug into the earth. This isn't Mr. Steele at all. It can't be. I can't stay here much longer. I'll report back soon, and I hope I can make it back. Update over.